Hello to everyone, except for those who dislike coconut and chocolate. You're excluded in that. It's nothing personal, I just personally don't like you. To the rest of you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good whenever you're listening to this. Welcome to Ruffled Feathers, the podcast where I share new things to complain about. Because if it exists, I have an opinion. Today, we're talking pet peeves. Those minor little inconveniences that you just can't shake. The one detail of life that makes you want to give up on this hectic simulation we call reality. People talking with food in their mouths, having your conversation interrupted, walking behind someone who's so painfully slow. You wonder why natural selection hasn't yet weeded them out of the gene pool. Whatever it may be, everyone has one. Hopefully yours isn't random historical linguistic facts, because you'd be in the wrong place. The use of the word pet peeve is relatively recent, going back to early 20th century. Pet, contrary to what our modern diction would have you think, does not refer to our furry friends. Of course, it was almost entirely used in that context from the beginning of the 16th century. It did, however, become prevalent much later in the 19th century to define something that is personally cherished by you. It makes sense. Ironically, though, it was almost exclusively paired with negative words, such as my pet aversion, for instance, meaning pretty much the same definition of a pet peeve. Peeve, however, was swapped in later towards the early 20th century. It, of course, stemmed from the root word peevish, which basically meant easily irritated, right? Pretty much as soon as peeve showed up on the scene, the two were paired together. They were meant to be, like Bella and Jacob in my personal Wattpad fanfiction. I'm still annoyed about that, by the way. Twilight, oh my god. Jacob was so much better than Edward, but, semantics. Anyway, speaking of annoyance, it's one of those emotions that just doesn't quite fit into one category. It's closely related to anger. It rises your hormone levels, increases your heart rate, and stimulates your brain's left hemisphere, putting you into a kind of stress mode. It sends you into a frantic search as to how to ask that guy in your math class politely to stop tapping his pencil before you drive your head into the nearest concrete wall. For me personally, it's the scratching of silverware on ceramic plates. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's my nail on chalkboard, It sends me into such an intense rage for no reason. Everybody else will just be sitting there at dinner. I hear the tiniest little scratch, and I'm okay. I let it sit. But then it happens again. And then at that point, I usually have to leave the room, or I'm chastised for using my sailor's dictionary at the dinner table. It's like the opposite of my own personal brand of heroin. Thanks, Edward, by the way. I am naturally calm and non-reactionary as a person. At least that's what I like to think. But something about it just makes me forget all sensibility and politeness. And I feel that's how a lot of people react. There's just something about pet peeves that drives people wild. It gets under their skin so much. It's such a minor thing, and yet it has no relenting. So that's what we're talking about today. A couple of the common pet peeves that I've seen are micromanagement, being late, talking during a movie, or looking over someone's shoulder while they're on the phone. Yeah, sorry in advance. Okay, so today I have with me Andrew Hartlove and Mara Cheney. How you doing, guys?
We're doing well. At least I'm doing well.
I'm good.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, so today we're talking pet peeves, right? Just the little tiny annoyances that everybody has. It can be something minor, it can be something major, it can be just those little anxieties that you have throughout the day. So what pet peeves do you guys have?
You mind if I start?
Yeah, go right ahead, man. What do you got?
So, personally, I always keep thinking about doing the right thing for for the future, me, I guess, whether it be long term or short term, whether it be like, okay, maybe if I don't like leave a certain item like where I know where I can find it.
Right, you're a planner. Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
Yeah. So some along that lines, and also like getting something done either at the time or pushing it back, like sort of that sort of mindset where it's like I don't know what the difference between procrastination and punting it down the road because I'm a little bit worn out. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Andrew's pet peeves are much more logical than mine.
Right.
The first one that I can think of off the top of my head is just because this just happened to me like 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was eating and my dad was like watching me eat. And there's nothing that I hate more than when people like look at me while I eat.
Really?
Because it's so uncomfortable and it makes me feel so weird. And it's like I'm waiting for something to like fall or like go on my face so that they can point it out. And I'm like, please just sit next to me or sit somewhere else. Like, don't sit directly in front of me because I just feel so much pressure to like be clean and not like mess up.
I was totally waiting for someone to say that because I feel like it's a thing with like just girls. Like I've never met a guy who's like a super clean eater, or if they are clean, they don't really care about people watching them. But I've heard countless girls say, I hate it when people watch me eat, or they don't like it when I look at them eat. Like, I just glance at them and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like...
Well, I know a lot of people are like, oh, are you one of those girls that like doesn't eat in front of guys? Like, you're not going to eat if a guy's around? I'm like, no, I will do that, like, totally, like, whatever, because, like, I'm not going to not eat. But it's like, if you like glance up at me, that's different. But if you're like staring at me while I eat, it's just so awkward and uncomfortable. Especially if there's like no dialogue and no conversation, and we're just staring at each other while we eat. It's so
but that's
awkward.
like I've seen the total like polar end of that scale where the first girl I ever dated, I took her on a date and she would not eat in front of me. Like I had to turn to the side and then she would like take a couple quick bites. She just couldn't stand it. I don't know. It was so weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is like, I don't want to say like a stereotypical girl thing, but it just feels very weird and like awkward.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I would say you're right. I think it's a stereotypical girl thing. Obviously not all girls do it. I've never personally met a guy who doesn't like it when people watch him eat. I don't care. I'm a messy eater and I'm proud. There's a lot of like weird ones out there. Like me, for instance, like one of my major pet peeves that I can think of off the top of my head is just the scratching of ceramic.
Ooh.
Like people...
I hate like scratching on skin. Like whenever my mom does it,
really?
I'm like, ugh, it's so gross.
Like hearing, like just having your skin scratched, or like hearing someone scratch their skin.
I don't know how to explain it because it's like, this is probably such a weird like way to describe it, but you know how you can't like tickle yourself, but like if somebody else tickles you, like you're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
So like if I scratch my skin, it doesn't bother me, but the sound of somebody else scratching their skin is so gross.
Yeah. That's the same thing with me. Like I hate it when people like dink their plates while eating. Like if you have a ceramic plate and you're eating with silverware, I hate the sound when someone like accidentally scrapes it. That sound that it makes just ticks me off so much. But like when I do it, it's not that big of an issue. Like,
yeah, you don't notice it as much.
Well, I notice I do it and I'm like, oh shoot. But then I'm like, oh wait, I don't care that much. But when somebody else does it, I notice and it sends me. It just rattles my brain,
Well, usually when you do it, everyone at the table stares at you and tells you to stop.
Yeah,
right.
It's like when your pencil like starts squeaking in class and you like can't make it stop and everybody's like, you seriously need to like do something about that.
Right.
That's when you know that you have a dull pencil and you need to sharpen it.
Well, if you have like a mechanical pencil, you can't really do anything about it. You just have to.
That's why I only use wood pencils. I only use wood pencils. This is the first year I've used a mechanical pencil, and I don't like it. But yeah, I only use wood pencils for that reason alone. Honestly, I mean, like, honestly, you could probably say mechanical pencils are another pet peeve of mine. Is I just don't like them. I don't like how they rattle or like, like you shake them a tiny bit and the lead inside like sort of like just shakes around and it makes that just that sound.
I don't have them, but for the complete opposite reason, because I can't stop rattling them and like clicking them, and I annoy everybody else around me just because I like doing it and I have like restless hands.
Fair enough.
Right.
Also, I just like the look of the classic pencil and other stuff. In
it's
my
all
hand.
about the aesthetic.
Like, yeah.
Oh yeah. So going back to it, every time like someone would scratch their plate, like especially when I was younger, like this has been a thing that's plagued me for years. But even when I was younger, like I would get like mad. I would like yell at my brother to stop doing that, and he would keep doing it because that's how brothers are. He likes to annoy me. But every time, I would get so mad, and this is before I could control my anger better, right? So I'm much better now, of course. People do it, and I'm like, hey, that kind of hurts my ears. Could you stop, please? But before, It was like I would hit him, and I'd start yelling at him, and I would get so angry for no reason because he would just lightly dink his plate. So what's the weirdest thing you guys have ever like gotten upset with somebody over?
Me and my sister always have really, really dumb arguments.
Right.
Like the other day, me and my sister, we argued about like pizza or something. It was something along those lines where I was like I picked up a slice and I ate it, right, and then she's like what are you doing? I'm like I'm eating it, and she was somehow like offended by it or somehow I don't know what I did, but
right.
I ate it, and she goes like, why did you do that? I'm like, what did I do? And then we just went back and forth of like, what did I do? And she knew something that I did but never told me. I'm like, I don't know what I did.
Yeah. Oh man, those are always the best though. Siblings, right?
Oh,
yeah,
of course.
I always argue with my brother and like all of my family about food because like I feel like I'm not that much of a picky eater. Like I'll kind of just suck it up and like have whatever it is. But I've been on this earth for 17 years, almost 18 years, and I hate onions, and everybody that knows me knows that I hate onions so much. They're like the one thing that I will not go near.
Really?
And for my entire life, I'm not trying to say my parents like didn't, try to help me out a little bit with it, but they're like, oh, you can just pick them out. But my brother doesn't like mushrooms, and I think mushrooms are fine. So they won't make anything with mushrooms in it because he doesn't want it. Mm-hmm. But if I say, oh, can you like not put onions in that because that's kind of gross, like
it's the favorite.
Then they don't.
Oh, that's
I'm
the
like,
worst.
okay.
Is he younger?
No, he's older.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I guess it's just siblings, maybe more than parents.
Yeah, I definitely have the middle child syndrome going on, so yeah, I totally get that. Kind of flipping it, do you guys have anything that's like an anti-pet peeve where it's like something weird that makes you feel good? Like just... So, for instance, like popping bubble wrap, where it's just like that little thing that's like, oh, that's so nice. Just like squishing. So mine has always been, since I was little, I would always pick up dead leaves in autumn. One of the reasons why it's my favorite season. Because I would just pick up dead leaves and I just loved crunching them. It was my absolute favorite. And it was so weird, but it's just straight serotonin to the brain.
No, I mean, for me, it's more of a like a. I don't know if I'm like self-conscious about it, but I mean, I'll just say it anyways. I take a lot of showers.
Right.
No, I work out like 3 times a week here, and and before I would, I'll take a shower, and my mom's like, "You're about to work out. Why are you like taking a shower?" I'm like, "Because I don't want to feel like crap while doing it." And she goes, "I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I take a shower beforehand and afterwards." I'm like, just because I can, and it makes sense. It just sort of makes sense to me.
It just sort of makes sense in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that.
I kind of do the same thing, but like with brushing my teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Like I brush my teeth probably 5 times a day.
At weird times.
Yeah, like
right.
The classic like wake up and then before you go to bed. But then in like the middle of the day, I'll just feel gross and I'm like, ugh. Like I have a weird taste in my mouth, or like if I have coffee and it just sits in your mouth all day, it's so gross.
Oh yeah, coffee, or like if I drink soda, like all the time. Every time I drink soda, I'm just like, oh, my teeth is filmy. I need to brush them now.
Yeah, it just feels nasty.
It does, right? But like
your teeth feel like rough. It's gross.
Right, but I think that's a good habit to have,
Yeah.
And it's just it feels great. Another thing is like taking my socks off after like a long day.
I'm curious then, if we're talking about socks.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it's acceptable to sleep in socks?
No.
'Cause that's
no. That is a capital offense.
See, I say it depends too. Because if it's really cold, then I'm gonna wear socks.
Oh.
Yes, I'm in the same boat, but it doesn't matter how many times I wear socks during the night. I always take them off. Like, I could be in the middle of a dead sleep, and I'll just take them off with my feet. I don't know how I do it, because I'm not that coordinated with my feet. But I go to bed with them on, and I wake up with them off. I'm like, I don't know where they go, but it's always like, if they're cold, then you either put a blanket over them or wear socks, and then I always take them off. I'm like, okay.
No, see, I have to do that because when I think it was like freshman year, I had like really bad athlete's foot because I would play soccer, and then I used to sleep with socks all the time, right? So I would play soccer, and of course, I take my showers, but like, who washes their feet?
True.
Well, I do now, but I didn't used to. And, oh my God, that scarred me because it's just like skin peeling off your feet. Oh my God, I hate it.
Ugh.
Oh. But yeah, don't ever get athlete's foot. So I do not ever sleep with socks, even when my feet is cold. Just wrap them in extra blankets or something, but socks are a devil.
I definitely wear them. Like, I don't wear them to sleep every single night, but if it's one of those nights where it's going to be freezing, then I am wearing socks. And then if I have to, I'll pull an Andrew and just kick them off in my sleep.
Sure. I mean, I personally, I like sleeping in the cold because, I mean, even though there's snow on the ground outside, I still have my fan on.
Yeah, so do
for
I.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like, I'm like really, really cold. And I'm like, okay, this is when I'll just throw on a pair of socks, but then it'll just levitate away. It'll just go away somehow, and I don't know how, but it's just that sort of thing.
Sleeping in the cold with warm blankets is just something special, for sure.
Yes, agreed.
Like, I just recently got like this bedding that like is Sherpa, and so it is so comfy, especially because I'm now living in like my attic, like the top portion of my house, so the walls get super cold. There's barely any insulation, so it gets really cold in my room, but my blankets are so warm, and God, is it heavenly. Well, that was a ride. I don't know if I'm going to be on the edge of blowing up all day, or if I'm just going to be in a really good mood, because that was interesting. Always a cheery topic, talking about the minuscule yet inescapable problems with humanity. The things I do for your entertainment. All jokes aside, though, we all have our own issues and little moments that make us want to rip a fire hydrant out of the ground, but that's just being human. We have to look to the bright side, because there are little things in life that are worth, treasuring. And they come with a balance, which is the things that we could do without. But without pet peeves, stupid people would remain stupid, and no one wants that. So be thankful for your pet peeves. it helps keep those and you humble. Just, don't go around yelling at random people who step a little louder than they should. I mean, unless you really want to. You're probably doing everyone else a favor. I mean, come on. Really? I didn't realize that you were half elephant. Alright, okay, I'm done. I swear. Anyway, I would like to thank my guests, Mara, Andy. You guys have been awesome. Thanks so much for sharing today. And to all of my listeners, thank you for allowing us to share our ruffled feathers. It has been a pleasure, I think. Okay, see you guys next time.